The beat still doesn't get old for me.
Love hearing it every time.
Right.
Perfect.
Little head
Bring
nod.
us in.
He's Isaac.
He's Philip.
We've got John Michael Sawhill today on the Unfiltered Podcast. I'm very excited.
Thank you. As am I. This is my first podcast.
First podcast you've ever been a guest on.
Yes.
Right
Well, I guess I've listened to them, but
For sure.
yeah, a little stage fright right now, but I'll get over it probably in about 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
What are some of the podcasts you frequent as a listener?
frequent. So I frequent listening to podcasts as I go to bed. So I enjoy the calm sounds of people's voices, and you have one.
Oh,
Yeah.
bless
Yes.
you.
So
You do.
Yes. So when I've listened to, I think I've listened to about 3 episodes of yours, and every single time I'm like, I need Isaac's voice for at least like 1 or 2 like meetings where you're just like, hey, I'm here, I'm the boss, and I want everybody to listen to me. You have that voice. So
It's the preaching voice.
yes, yeah, probably, yeah.
There's
Maybe.
there's an app out there that you can like listen to certain people and they'll try to put you to sleep. And one of them is like Matthew McConaughey has an app
Oh, yeah.
where it's just him like talking to you and speaking into your brain as
In
you
a
try
Lincoln,
say-
a Lincoln, yeah, one of the Lincoln navigators.
Oh,
That's
the
real.
the Lincoln
Nice.
commercials.
Yeah,
to.
or whatever.
You need to get on that.
Well, I was just thinking, they have that app now where you can like hire celebrities to like do personal messages.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And when you were like, I need that voice for like a meeting.
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking, man, maybe I should like sell it out,
Yep.
Like, hey, just tell me what you need me to say. I'll put it on a track.
Yep.
Play it.
Well, I could see like tomorrow just broadcast the Super Bowl. It's like, all right,
yeah.
we got Isaac here. We're gonna do the Super Bowl, and here we go.
Here we go.
Color commentary.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Yeah, I'll be Tony Romo.
Good ideas.
I
there.
wouldn't be opposed to that. Yeah, that guy, he knows his football. That's for sure.
He does know his football.
Yeah.
I love it when Tony Romo is calling games.
Yeah, no, he. So there's a game I was watching, and I played college football, and I know a little bit, and I thought I knew a lot, and then you listen to Tony Romo, and you're like, I don't know anything. I'm back in Pee Wee High School or
Right.
Pee Wee or high school or something like that, which I thought was elementary, and yeah, I don't know anything. And he was talking about coverages, he's check downs, and he's calling the play before even the play happens, and this is 4 plays before the play happens, and you're like, wow, yeah, that's why you're a pro.
It's
So
yeah.
Impressive.
He's a football genius, like a full-on beautiful mind type
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Way better than when I listen to like because Romo is on CBS
yes.
and it's like Chris Collinsworth.
Oh yeah.
Bless his soul. I can't handle
Oh
it
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. No. So John Fag and I actually every single Sunday night. This is an inside joke that we have. We always make fun of Chris Collinsworth because he hypes everything up like, boy, are we in for a treat tonight? Back when I was a Cincinnati Bengal, I'd catch that ball 10 times out of 10, and it's OBJ's one-handed catch. It's like, no, you wouldn't. No,
Right.
you wouldn't.
Right.
But he's also he's that color commentator that you're just like, okay, you're like he makes Al Michaels. Like Al Michaels is just so straight laced. He like puts a little bit of humor on it. So like I do enjoy sometimes listening to commentators. Other times it's like, nah, I'll just put it on mute.
Who's what network is the game on tomorrow? Do you know?
NBC, yeah, 13.
Oh, so who's gonna call that? Or are they gonna bring in like Joe Buck?
I believe it's Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels. Yeah. I mean, you can put it on mute.
I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you
Wonder
can just have everybody else commentate for you.
Right.
They might do just as good a
I
job.
wonder if Romo is like commenting on like some app or something. Can I just like stream him in
Yeah.
while I mute the TV?
Like the Mannings, what they do with Monday Night
Yes.
Football. Yeah, just
Yes.
and then maybe Joey Galloway. I like Joey Galloway as well. He's a
good.
very very descriptive commentator as well.
Right on.
Knows his stuff. So
Yes. That's good.
yeah.
Oh
so
man.
yeah, not podcasters, but I mean some of them. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, Tony Romo, if he had a podcast, I'd probably listen to that.
Oh, yeah.
Just like your X's and O's, and maybe he does have podcasts I don't know about.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Yep.
As he keeps selling himself and
Oh yeah, and he's funny too. I mean,
he is.
You're knowledgeable but yet funny. I mean, that's a good mix, and that's what I like about podcasts. So, podcasts I do listen to would be everybody knows Joe Rogan's podcast. It's the biggest podcast. Lex Friedman. He's very similar to your voice. I like him just because of that. His voice, if you listen to it, it's very calm, and he's very curious. And he'll and just talk like this, and and then he gets real deep. Like so explain to me your interpretation of what does an alien actually mean? And it's like, whoa, this is intense. I don't know if I can fall asleep right now, but I want to, So those are the types of podcasts. Very intense. I'm an intense person, so intense podcasts. Unfortunately, I fall asleep, but fortunately enough, they're entertaining for at least 10, 15 minutes.
Well, intense person, but yet I've heard stories of like some of your comedy routines. Some of the things you used to do at the bank. I had the benefit of having my dad he would report back. Like you've done some skits or some lip syncs or...
Oh, yeah. I cross-dressed. I can't remember what the song was, but we had... it's team buy-in. When you're at the bank, you got to buy in, or any organization, you buy in. So, and that's my life, is I buy in, I go all in. So we're doing some quarterly celebration, and... I think I might have been the only guy on the team, and then we want to do, I think it's like boots were made for walking or something like that.
Okay, sure.
And they're like, we need a lead. And I'm like, okay, how about one of you? And they're like, no, we need a lead. We need somebody that can get the party started. And I was like, is that me? And I'm like, does that mean I have to dress up like a girl? All right, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, so I bought in, and I think there's some video evidence out there, and definitely a couple pictures. Lacey probably still uses it against me every once in a while, and Sid tries to erase it from his memory. It wasn't the prettiest sight of everybody, but it was fun. But yeah, that's the epitome of buying in. You just got to do stuff outside your comfort zone and go all in.
So it was outside your comfort zone.
Oh yeah. No, I don't typically do that.
No, not like on the norm.
Yeah, that was probably the fifth or about 6th or 7th time. Yeah, that's it.
So how many times does it take
only.
to be in the comfort zone then? Like, oh yeah, this is
for me,
par for the course.
Oh man, that's a great question. It's a lot less than normal people. I would say whatever normal people. I don't know why I was going with that, but
I don't think you're normal, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I don't want to be normal.
No.
Yeah, I don't like being normal. It's always kind of bothered me. It's like I don't want to fit necessarily in the pack. But yeah, I would say, definitely that first leap is always tough. But you do it about 2 or 3 times, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, I can do it. Sometimes it's only one for me. If I know I can do it, and if I've done it, then why can't I do it again and again and again and again? And then that becomes my normal, so to speak. And that's, it's kind of how. That's kind of how I like to live, is just you got to leap into something that you don't really find comfortable, and then once you get comfortable, you just keep doing it.
Just find another thing to leap into.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So master of none, but a jack of all. I like to pride myself on being up for learning something new, whatever it is. Very open-minded, almost too open-minded. I wouldn't say it gets me in trouble, but sometimes it's unrealistic how open-minded I can be.
What does that mean? Exactly. Like, what have you been open to recently in the last year or so?
Expanding my business from 1 to 4 times the size in less than a year during an onslaught of a lot of negativity in my industry. And so,
your industry being
entertainment, trampoline parks. So
Skyzone.
Skyzone, yes, Skyzone is my brand that I represent in the trampoline park industry, and we as an industry got absolutely hammered during the pandemic, and we've rebounded. So don't feel sorry for me now. We've definitely rebounded, and I've chosen to grow the business because I believe in the business. I believe in what it represents for the future. There's obviously going to be some changes that happen within the walls of the business, but entertainment, family oriented fun, birthday parties, and dedicated more towards the fitness side, and that again kind of represents my childhood, and just my young adulthood is, hey, I need to be active. If I'm not active any day of my life, or doing 100 things in one day, it's a bad day for me, and I can start to feel a little bit depressed because of that. So I want to give the kids that feel that same way. They're giddy with excitement to do pretty much anything. The same.
Have you always been like that?
Yeah.
Even like since as long as you can remember?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily physically, but my mind. The older I get, it's definitely harder to shut off. I think that's kind of a stage in life. I talk to a lot of people 20, 30 years older than me, and they're like, oh, yeah, I went through that in my 20s and 30s. But it just definitely has ramped up. I always like to think just about pretty much it, and I get super hyper-focused. So my parents would say, you're always hyper-focused on something. It doesn't matter what. It could be ping pong, but you're going to be hyper-focused about it.
So not like ADHD, almost the opposite, almost like...
Well, so it's funny that you say that because I've never been diagnosed with anything. But people have said that you have the ability to change your hyper-focusedness so quickly that it comes off like you might have something like that. And I'm like, well, does it impact my life? No, in a negative way. And I would say no. And so therefore, I'm not somebody that likes titles or labels or whatever. I could have something similar. I don't know. But it's in my mind positive. So yeah, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So interesting how the difference of it being a bad thing and a good thing is what you do with it.
Yeah.
Because like we were just talking about upstairs, like anything amoral can really be that way, where it's like, it depends on what you do with it.
Yes, exactly.
Money's that way. Tools are that way.
Mm-hmm.
Really what you choose to do with it depends, will result in the outcome you get.
Yeah. I would say a lot of people that have my personality, if you put drugs in front of them, they become hyper addicted to drugs and have massive problems with that. I know that about myself. So if you put drugs in front of me, I will partake in, the alcohols and some of the, obviously the legal drugs. But if you got me in a black tar heroin situation and it became legal, my personality, if it was legal and it was morally correct, I might go all in. And that's a risk for a person like myself, is to go all in on something that's extremely dangerous, extremely toxic, extremely bad in the world, so to speak. Other people might disagree. They say it's bad. But yeah, that's how I feel about my personality and understanding it and using it for good rather than negative.
So knowing that about yourself, like this, whatever I'm doing, it's going to be to the extreme. I'm going to be all in on it. How selective are you in the things that you choose to participate in, and what does that process look like?
Good question. It used to be sports. I think a lot of that had to do more with abilities rather than actual dedication for it.
Like, this is what I can do, so it's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I was extremely passionate about it. I was passionate about it. But there's that next level of passion that you need to be like amazing at it. That I was good, but I was never going to be great. Cause you see some of the guys, prime example would be, so I first went to Drake, and Drake's known for being a scholar school. And football's not really known. Around even the state, Drake football's not known. So I went there with more of I was even pretty good on that team.
Pretty good. Okay, so I ran track in college. We ran track meets at Drake, and in the field house there was like a list of the weightlifting leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Your name was at the top, and I just like walking by, looking at this thing, like, I wonder what these Drake guys can lift. Are they stronger than me? And then lo and behold, it's like, I know that guy. And it's like squat, hang clean, bench press, Michael Sawhill, like you achieve something physically and fitness wise.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
What do you weigh right now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm about 220, I would say. 215 maybe.
What did you weigh?
By the time I left football, it was like 290, 295.
Wow.
I mean, defensive end, right?
Defensive end, and then I got too big, and I had to go interior. So, but that was the only way I was going to play the next level, and that's ultimately a sacrifice I had to do. Again, it's going all in, and you can't do something 85, 90%. You have to you have to go all in on it. And your time, you only have 24 hours in the day. So why waste time on something that you're not actually passionate about, like super passionate about anymore? Yeah. I mean, when you're a kid, you don't really know. And that's where I would say sometimes I would slack off or whatever because I just didn't know what I was passionate about, or I was forced to do something. I mean, parents, rightfully so, should force their kids to do some things that they don't like to do because it teaches them some really good morals and values. And there's some things I didn't want to do. So I would, act like a normal kid and say, I don't really want to do this 100%. But now I'm an adult and I do things 100%. And if I don't do things 100%, it's on me.
When did you really learn this about yourself?
About the 100%?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
High school or after?
After, way after. Yeah.
Just like a revelation, or did you like do something like a personality study on yourself?
No.
You just like a self-discovery?
Probably. Yeah. I didn't do it intentionally. I mean, I know there's some people that probably are like, hey, what is my purpose in life? And I don't really know I don't think I ever did that. I listen to a lot of people. Before podcasts, it was just YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. And so I'd listen to some YouTube videos about monetary policy. I've always been, if you're talking about like, what am I like 2 or 3 things I'm super passionate about. Money is one of them. Not having money, but money itself, what it does, how it creates different types of people, how it creates different types of products, how it impacts people's lives, how it doesn't impact people's lives, what people do with it, how people treat it. So it's the psychological impact of money. I love that. And then I also love the malleability of money too. So how does it change? How does a dollar change for me now compared to when I was 10? Again, that goes in psychology a little bit. I'm definitely not a psychology major. But that's passion. And so then how can I use my skill set, which is money? I studied accounting and I've always been good with my money, treated it, protected it, so to speak. And how can I use what money I have to impact the world and grow it to be... Like if I have a skill set of being an athlete, how can I use my athletic ability to like make an impact on the world positively? So that's how I use money in my mind is like, hey, if I'm good at money, how do I either, help a business start? How do I...
Which thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Helping me start.
Yeah, no, it was...
You were my banker, man.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's the passion, Yep. Like when I first talked to you, what did you know about starting a business?
Not a lot, which was a weak point for chiropractors everywhere, and something that I'm actually finding out that I've mildly passionate about business and staying in the black.
Yep.
See?
Well, hopefully you're not in the red.
Hopefully not in the red. See, I've got a long ways to go, but yes, I enjoy the business aspect, but I feel like you were a part of that journey for me.
Mm-hmm.
You were there, 25-year-old Philip, zero money, going to John being like, let's do this. Let's start this chiropractic business. Let's take this risk and take the leap.
Yeah, and you're doing good with that money. That's what it's about for me. Like seeing people start their own business or see people grow a business. And money, money's an object, and like if money can create good, then give it. And we talk about in today right now with a lot of the financial like budgeting and how much deficit we have and whatnot, and it's concerning. But at the same time, like what does it matter? If we're not good people, it doesn't matter how much we're in the red or in the black. So yeah,
does the deficit even matter
to me?
Or at all? Because it's like we've been the the national debt, that deficit.
Yeah, this is probably an economic question that that this is my opinion. I don't think it matters at all.
I don't see how it does either. It used to be a talking point in like the 2008 election. But now it's like no one talks about it.
This gets really complicated. So I'll try to narrow it down. 3 things that impact why I would say there's cause for argument where it does matter if you as a entity or you as a government know that it doesn't matter, that's a huge abuse of power. So if the government continues to, use that power irresponsibly, huge issue. Second thing is, where's that money going? So if we run a deficit, where's that money going? Is it going for good? Is it going for bad? And then the more money in the system, obviously we've just seen, it's a good talking point right now with like inflation. Inflation numbers just came out, 7.5%. So to an average person, it's like, well, I don't own a lot of assets. Now my assets that I do own is primarily in cash, I would say, for a majority of people, maybe some real estate. But for the average person, it's cash. And now my cash is worth 7% less. Why? Well, I mean, I don't want to go into full details of why I think that. But yeah, I mean, money is a huge impact on, again, that psychological aspect of what people are going through. And if you don't fully understand that or get taken advantage of it from a bad budget of some sort, then yeah, budgets only matter when they matter. They don't matter when they, like, the math behind it doesn't matter. The intentions of what the budget is accomplishing or not accomplishing, that to me matters.
It's not about the budget. It's about the intention behind the budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We've got a buddy that says it's not how much you make, it's about how much you spend.
Agree.
That's his principle. It's like, if you're spending it, then he also says, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. As if, like, if you're, doing stupid things with your money, spending it here and there and blowing it, you're going to win a stupid prize, which is being in a deficit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So the intent, I say all that to say, like, yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. The intent behind the budget.
When I hear something else in what you're talking about, and it's not just how much you spend and how much you make, but it's like how you spend what you spend.
Yes.
And how you, I would say, probably make what you make. What are the morals behind what you're doing to get the results you're getting? And like, I just wrote this down because as you were talking, what I see as a theme is like the way you look at money, it's not just to serve me, but it's to serve and help grow others too. Mm-hmm. Has that always been your mindset about money?
No.
When did that change?
When I had enough.
When you had enough.
Yeah, to be comfortable. At first it was scarcity. I thought it was my parents are both teachers and we did fine. I was not raised poor, but I was not wealthy. So I was middle class. That was great. It was awesome. And I love my childhood and I wouldn't go back and change it because I feel like that's what drove me to where I'm at. But it was always this, especially when I get to college, you see some people with money and you're like, ooh, I don't have any money. And then you see some of the economic problems that are existing, and then you see inflation hit 7.5%, and you're like, I want to make sure that I have enough money to make sure that I'm okay. And then once I felt like I've gotten to, and sometimes I still don't feel like I've gotten there, and that's more of a psychological, and that's something that I brought up earlier. That kind of goes into what I was going to talk about. But yeah, once I got enough where it's like, okay, I'm comfortable, that's when the philanthropic part of me is like, okay, well, how can I use this money for good? And then also, how do you grow? Like, it is not necessarily like give it away. I mean, giving money away never really solves issues to me. But how can I pay somebody more for having more responsibility and then provide them a better lifestyle, or how can I use what I know about budgets and use what I know about efficiency of business to not have to raise the price of my good 7%. How can I cut a cost somewhere? How can I renegotiate a contract? How can I do some of these things where for the consumer, it's like, well, they're not doing anything, but it's like, well, I eliminated an increase. So like McDonald's is a prime example. Like McDonald's, as much as McDonald's sometimes is not the best, they're really cost conscious. And behind the scenes, I don't know anybody, but I'm betting you behind the scenes they're doing everything they can to make sure that cheeseburger stays $1. Right. And they can't anymore. Right. So how can I make it only $1.50? Okay, when can I only make it $2? And so they're constantly, obviously, wages is another thing that they're really cognizant of. in Grimes, it's $15. So minimum wage, $7.25. They're double minimum wage. So McDonald's, even though they get a bad rep about sometimes being, the low producer, they're paying their employees okay. Mm-hmm. They're on top of that. Could they do more or less? I don't know. That's the market. That's the market's decision. But that's where people are going to disagree on how much is too much, how much is too little. But that's where you're like, hey, knock, knock, knock. I'm the market. I'm going to tell you exactly what it's worth. Here we go. And people kind of just figure it out.
What do you think? Have you thought about the automation of certain things? I was up in Minnesota some months back, and it's the first time this happened to me. I walk into a McDonald's and there's a giant panel in front of the door, and that's where you order. And then they've got 2 people in the kitchen making the orders and putting them out. And I thought, wow, that's different. And it gets, I think, into that kind of minimum wage, maybe workforce conversation. But at what point do you think it's appropriate for a company to start looking at an automated version versus just paying people more? Is it all about cost? Is it about, opportunity for employment? Does that go back to morals of the company?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would say it depends on the company. My opinion is different than the opinion of McDonald's. McDonald's opinion is different than Burger King. Burger King is different than Google. Mm-hmm. Google is different than Amazon. I'm telling you from my insight, the ones that automate do better. And the ones that automate can produce more. They're more efficient. But do you see automation in Chick-fil-A?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, the app. Yep.
But when you're in the drive-thru, you still see people with a positive attitude.
Sure.
So there's automation still going in play, but you still have happy people.
I see.
Or presumably happy people with good customer service. So you can have both. And where's that median? Or, and how much is too much automation? How much is too much? Because you don't, okay. Right. For number 1, for sales. For number 2, customer service. For 3, for number 1, English. Number 2, Spanish. Number 3, French. For number 1, okay, is that good customer service? I don't know. For some people it might be, and that's where the market will decide.
I just saw a movie last night. It was about this lady who got a check for all this money and wasn't hers, and she's trying to call this company, and it was hilarious because it was these 2 older ladies, and they're trying to deal with a automated call service, and they were doing it for 2 hours. It just kept replaying the same thing, and they couldn't get to the person they needed to talk to because that automation, while it by design maybe is supposed to help and make things more efficient, it's more difficult than talking to somebody who can pick up on the nonverbal communications and nuances of what we say and do. So do you think an economy that moves more into automation and say there's fewer of that kind of ground level position open, does that mean more opportunities for the people willing to step up and do the work, or does it mean a limitation of opportunities? How do you see that?
Yeah, I think, so demographics is a big part of my philosophical approach to economics. So the more people we have in an economy, the more consumers there are. The more consumers there are, the more spending will occur. The less, obviously, it's the inverse. We're in an issue. Demographically, we're in an issue probably right now. Why we have some job shortages or labor shortages is because the demographics are trending to a point where baby boomers are retiring, but they're still consuming, and so we have the same amount of consumption. So supply and demand, so we have the same amount of consumption, but fewer workers. So unless demand changes, so. That's why, ironically enough, I'm not against the inflation that we're seeing because it shows that we still have enough demand but not enough supply. So what we should see is if we're having problems with that, we should go back down in inflation, or we should see some wage inflation. I can tell you from a business owner's perspective, I've seen a lot of wage inflation. What used to be a good wage is, I've raised high school kids, $2, $3, $4 an hour in the matter of 6 months. So if you put that, 10 to 14, so that's more than 7%. So, but again, it depends, like everything, 7%, everything's, whatever. But yeah, you're talking, a lack of supply of workers, but still the same demand in consumption. And that's where I'm seeing, where automation needs to come into play a little bit more. So to answer your automation question, yeah, definitely a proponent of automation, not necessarily because I want to eliminate jobs, but I want to create jobs. Or like for me, it's like I'm short staffed, like everybody's burnt out. It's not about the money for them. And I even feel sometimes guilty on a Saturday for being here and not being there. And but I know I have to distance myself to make sure it can run by itself. But they're burnt out. And, how can I automate something and then also pay them more? And so that's my moral compass is I've told my management team, what can make your job easier? This. Okay, how can I automate it? Okay, so if I can automate it, you spend 1 less hour doing it, 2 less hours a week doing it, 3 less hours a week, 4, maybe 50% of your job is doing something that I can automate. Okay, so now I can pay you more to do other things, and then we can grow. So,
and in the name of avoiding burnout too.
Yes, yeah, mental health
for sure. Because I've been trying to figure that out too. Just like days are long sometimes. Me and Lindsay over there grinding, and it's like, I think she said this week that she had the most boring day of work she's ever had in the year and a few months, year and a half that we've been together. And it's like, okay. So that was kind of like a newsflash to me. Like, this can't go on because like I could see it in her mood. I could see it in my mood. By the end of the day, it's affecting how we're talking to people, communicating with people, serving people. It's like, is this, and now, boom, all these ideas. How can I automate this? How can I go back and see, well, if we do this and this, that'll take the load off your plate. And it's exciting. It's fun to think about because that's really what makes a business go and makes the bottom line better when you start to figure out like, okay, here we can move things around. You got a different story over there, Guy.
It's a little different
in your business. In a church afloat.
Yeah.
Church is just like anything. If they ain't got no money.
It's administration to happen.
Correct.
It's a big part of the week. Yeah.
Correct. Right.
People that think pastors only work like the 1 day a week, they don't see the background, But you're right. I mean, there is the weekly stuff that has to happen. Yeah.
If I'm looking for you during the week, I can find you in your office, and you're doing stuff. You're managing
the affairs of the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah.
It is tough though, thinking about like automation. One of the things I've heard in like leadership courses, people that teach, like John Maxwell is one that I've read a lot after, and he teaches about, kind of Christian-based leadership. And he talks about how, in leadership, you should work yourself out of jobs. And that's what I think automation really is. It's just working, finding a better way so that that person doesn't have to do that monotonous thing over and over, and I do think that's an effective way to promote efficiency is by automating things so that they just handle themselves.
Yep. Yeah, and I've told this to my right hand man at Skyzone. So I work my 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or sometimes 7 to 4, whatever it is. But I put 40, 50 hours into my job at the bank, and then during that time I can't be interrupted, and so that's why I have Matt to help me. And I've told him we have to automate if we want to grow the company. And so we started with 1. Now I'm at 4.
4 locations.
4 locations.
Right
yep.
On.
So
you did all this in the last year and a half or so.
Yep. So I started with the Grimes location.
Yep.
And then COVID happened, and then we rebounded, and then I saw an opportunity on the East Coast to buy assets for a huge discount.
East Coast, like
New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yep.
Right on.
So that's my second location that I acquired. So as a foreclosure, me as a banker, I understood the process, how to get those assets through the foreclosure process, and started that up in July, and then we had some struggles as far as who's going to be answering phones, because it's 2,000 miles away.
Not close.
Yep. So and then how do we use technology to make it so I'm, the old school way is like you have somebody answering the phone in one location, you have somebody answering the phone in the other location. I want one person answering the phone, and then I want that centralized, and I can pay that person more, and then I can utilize technology that is now out there, cloud-based software, to make my life easier and to centralize all the data. And so we did that. I felt comfortable with it. There's definitely some hiccups that you just don't know. And then later part of the year, I went up and I was like, oh yeah, this is getting a little easier than I thought it was going to. And maybe that's just my overconfidence and kind of coming in. But I was like, I think we could scale it up. I think I could get a couple more. And so I talked to a guy that owned 2 of them down in Kansas City. And so my next acquisition that just happened about a month ago was down in Kansas City. So there are 2 parks down there. And so going through some of the same struggles that I did when I took over the first is just starting to learn, how they do things. What can I do different? What can they do different that I do better? What can I do different that they do better? Vice versa. It's not just a one-way street. And then just analyze. So that takes time. I'm going to lose money, so to speak, on analyzing. But that's fine. It's you never want to rush a decision that could cost you more money in the long term just by trying to save a few bucks in the short term. That to me, it's never been important.
Are you paying for analyzation, or are you running your own numbers and doing a self-analyzation?
Yeah, I do it myself.
Yeah.
The reason why I say it might cost me money is because there's definitely some inefficiencies that I know are happening, but I'm not going to change them right away because that's, again, from a culture standpoint, that could just eat away at your culture. And, without the people, the reason why I'm here right now is because I have people doing what what I'm investing in.
Right.
So
I think I've been advised that, and I know you told me that you were advised that, is when you took over the church, or when a chiropractor buys another book of business, is you don't immediately go in and change all the systems because it's too radical of a change, and the existing clientele will be like, whoa, because change is naturally abrasive. It isn't always received until you've, I believe, learned to receive that in a way.
Yeah. So there's trust and rapport built within the organization. This is the favorite way I've ever heard it described is it's like turning a ship. You can't just flip it on a dime. You have to take time, and the bigger the ship, the more time it takes to turn it, because if you do it too fast, the whole thing goes in the water.
Yep.
And so I've always liked that little representation.
Yep. And that's hard for me.
To take the time to do it slow, because you're ready, all in right now.
I already know what needs to happen.
Yeah.
In my mind. And now, is it the right way? Maybe not. But in my mind, it's this is how it needs to be. And it's very, very difficult. I mean, yeah.
Knowing what is easy, but knowing how is probably the part that takes the analysis. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then also understanding that what I think's right might not be right, even though that I'm the one forking the bills. And I do listen to people. That's something I've never struggled with. I will listen to input, but sometimes you do something and you're like, nope, shouldn't have done that, and then pivoting back. So that's sometimes hard because then it's they're trying to buy. At what point is that buy-in just not gaining steam, and then you have to revert back to the old way? That still happens right now.
What is the key? What's the key to making a Skyzone run?
People. Yeah,
people.
Absolutely.
People that work for you, or people that come and enjoy?
If you don't have good, so my theory is if you don't have good people that work for you, the guests aren't going to be happy, so they're not going to come in. But then you also have to, that's the biggest thing, people. But then you gotta make money to spend money, and that's another thing. I during 2020, I spent a lot of money revamping the business, and it was a risk, and it worked, obviously, because I bought more. But it was a risk, and you have to just go off your. I mean, there's that mix of gut and instinct, and along with like analyzation.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, if I didn't have my dad, if I didn't have Ben, who's not even a part of the business, but he's just a good friend, a family friend, and if I didn't have them, I wouldn't be able to do it. You can't do anything by yourself, and
Sure.
so. Even corporate and, vendors and just talking. And I went all the way down, funny story about just what you got to do when you own a business is you'll relate to. Went all the way down to Atlanta during, I think it's August of 2020, maybe September of 2020. And I had probably gone 3 months with shutting down, lost a lot of money during that. Business was still not rebounding. And we probably had... we had 150 capacity or so, and then we probably at the peak, even during summer, we only probably hit 50 capacity.
50
jumpers at a time.
Okay.
So it's terrible.
Sure.
So it's just mentally exhausting, and you're like, well, okay, no, what do I do? How do I change it? And then this is a huge mental impact for me too. Is during that time period, I was basically told I was trying to kill people.
Because you were open.
Sure. Yeah, that was open.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to kill kids. I'm
Yep.
trying to, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, so not to put any, because I'm not a science person, but I got a business to run. So I got to be open. So no matter what, I got to be open. So I got that too. If I'm trying to kill people, then I'm not going to have any guests in the future anyway. So, why would I do that? So you just have to shut out the noise, so to speak. But then the third is like, okay, well, what do I do? How do I make people happy? What does everybody want from me? So then I went down to Atlanta, flew down there. My dad came with me, rented a 26-foot Penske, and this is business. There's a business that went under. We negotiated a price for their equipment, and they wished me luck. And they said, hopefully you can survive, unlike us. And
Skyzone equipment.
Yep.
Trampolines.
The Warrior Course and the Warp Wall.
Okay.
Or not the Warp Wall. So I already bought the Warp Wall. Warrior Course, some tables. I bought some other things. I can't remember what I all bought from them.
And all this is in Skyzone now.
Currently, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, in the Des Moines one.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it's like a, 20-hour or 16-hour trip back. So the adrenaline's kind of pumping. Went all the way down with my dad's loaded all this stuff in with me, and just this family, load everything with me, did all that stuff, and then we're gonna spend the night at a hotel. But me at that point in time, I was like, I don't want to spend any more money than I have to, because I am losing too much. And so I was like, okay, well, let's just go, let's get back. And my dad's like, okay.
He was okay with that?
Yep. Oh, yeah. He
bat
encouraged
an eye.
it. He encouraged it. He's like, I know that you want to get back, and let's go. So this was by midnight after a full day of dismantling Warrior Course, which if you see a Warrior Course at Skyzone, it's close to 15 feet high and a whole bunch of trusses, and I mean it's heavy, so we were exhausted from that, and then we drove all the way back, and that's the power of people. Well, when we put our mind to something, that's what we can do. And that's, it's a terrible example in comparison to what some people do with their lives. But just, you got to do it. And it's about sacrifice.
Your dad's a tough guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
yep.
Your dad, he gave me a major boost in high school. I believe I was a junior, and high school is high school. Junior year for me was not I was just a small kid trying to play sports, and he was the baseball coach. Baseball was arguably, I was okay at baseball, and he took me to the side one day during practice, and it was a practice too where I was fooling around a little bit, and some other guys that just weren't all in, were not focused. We were fooling around, and I thought he was gonna chew me out, Philip, you need to be better than this. But then he took me aside and he said, hey, I see your work ethic. I see you're bigger, you're stronger, you've been working out. You're bigger, you're faster, you're better than you were last year. I want to give you an opportunity to start varsity this year. And I was like, what? Because I didn't see that coming. I was just playing a sport, waiting for my time to try to like finally get in there. But he was one of the only coaches that saw the value. I believe he was one of the only ones that saw the value in personally, like verbally, picking up a athlete, a high school student. Like, I can't tell you too many other times that a coach built me up like your dad did, and it left an impact on me. He and Mr. Paulson too, like two of the best coaches I feel like I ever had. So there's a little quick story about your dad.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
But he was tough too, because he like didn't.
Yeah.
He demanded. He's an all-in guy. I feel like he's all in. Like right there, we drove to Atlanta and back with you. No sleep, no nothing. Like he's another all-in guy that I think I can see, especially from talking to you. And he wanted that from his athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I think that's where I'll spill the beans from earlier.
Childhood.
That's the childhood issue. Yeah, issue, not good or bad. It's just the way it was.
Sure.
So, what I saw from him was the build up on others, and what I saw from myself was the you can do better. You do better. You do better. It wasn't in like a I hate you way. It was or like you're not good enough. But I took it as I'm not good enough because I always heard you could get better because he believed in me. And he's an all-in guy too, like you said. He believed in me. And so, I mean, I struggle with that today. It's like, is it good enough? Like, could I do more? And that's why I do everything that I do is I just want to be better. I want to be better and better and better and better and better and better and better. And you just repeat better. And that's what goes through my head. You can do it better.
Better than yourself.
Yeah.
Not necessarily Joe Schmo.
No, I don't compare myself to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All intrinsic, all you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care what you do. I'm just gonna do me, and I'll compete. Obviously, I want to compete with somebody, but yeah, I just if I'm not doing what I think is the best, I'll just completely, that's why I can't sit still for a day, and I feel depressed on like a Saturday if I'm not doing something. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And it's not a good feeling. It's not always the healthiest feeling. But yeah, it's just self-awareness. You got to be self-aware about it.
There's another time I was a freshman on the football sidelines, and I had broken my arm that year, so I didn't play at all. But then I became like a quote-unquote manager for the varsity team. And you were a sophomore, so you were a year ahead of me. And it was like we were in Denison or Nevada. It was some school that wore purple, I can tell you that. And you were in the game, and you were like establishing yourself, because I don't remember if you played much as a freshman varsity football.
No.
Mm. But as a sophomore, it's like John Michael is here. Let's throw him in. Let's see how he does. And you were like hammering it, and I think you got like hit weird, and you came out and you're pacing up and down the sidelines, and you're like pouring sweat, and and all of a sudden it's like we're running more plays and it's not working, and it's Kibby and your dad, they're both like, is John ready to go back in yet? They're like looking for you, calling for you. Like, is he ready yet? Is he really injured, or can he like tough this out? Like we need him now. We need him to go back in. And then you like heard your name and you just like ran onto the field. And it wasn't like, okay, John, here's what we're going to do. It's just like, I'm going back in.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably had a concussion that game. Yeah.
Wow.
Probably. I don't know. I mean, it's just part of it. Yeah. I don't really remember that, but that's just probably
could be the concussion.
Could be the concussion, or it could be like it was, 15 years ago or whatever it was.
Right.
But yeah, that's a good story. That's that's me. Yeah.
Right. Well, I get it, but then it's like, yeah, okay.
Do you find a satisfaction like in going all in and like doing 100%? I mean, I think the danger in having such a high expectation is like the disappointment of if you're not achieving at that level. So like, do you know when you've gone all in on a day and like you can get home, like you're in bed and you're thinking, okay, I did what I could do today. Are you like satisfied there, or do you still feel like, I don't know, like less than what you want to get to?
The latter. Yeah. That's something that I try to work on. I mean, what you guys talked in one of your episodes about self-health and then self-awareness and all that. And yeah, that's something totally for me that I will catch myself, and that's where you need people in your life that are like, hey, relax, like just relax and make humor out of it. I'm a humorous guy, so So yeah, if you try to make me laugh or do something and then call me out, I mean, oh, I love that. Call me out on it because I'll take it because I'll dish it out. But call me out. Yeah.
You don't want to be coddled.
No.
You want to be
I never
held
have
better.
been.
Sure.
I never have been. I don't know what it feels like. And then when I went to the world, after college, I mean, even college, you get these 6'5", 300-pound coaches. Coach Carlo was a prime example of that. He's my D-line coach at Drake. He's 6'5", played at UNI. He was an offensive lineman there. Very, very similar to my dad. And I knew he loved me. I mean, there's no way that he wouldn't have my back. But sometimes you're just like, I don't know what it is about your face, but I want to see it. Like you're just like, I've had enough of your attitude today. And so yeah, very, very similar. But yeah, I don't know what it really feels like, especially like in a male figure, to like coddle me. It's if I see a male trying to coddle me, I don't really understand it. So yeah, that's a weird thing, I guess, in my life, I guess. But my mom coddled me, but I never wanted her to, and so I would say in the coddling sense, it's definitely the female in my life that's coddled or tries to coddle and still tries to. I mean, she just genuinely tries to make sure that I'm okay, and basically makes herself vulnerable to be like, hey, anything you need. Whereas my dad is, like, you good? All right. Okay. Let me know if you're not. So yeah. Very, very traditional roles.
Sure.
But yeah, that's my childhood.
Do you feel like that's like the way it had to be for you to get to where you are today? Or do you think if you had it different?
The nature versus nurture.
Right, yeah. Would it be different if you had grown up different?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have good childhood, I'm not saying that you're going to amount to nothing, but it's significantly harder, in my opinion, to be all you can be. But some people feed off that. I mean, personalities are completely different. Somebody might be neglected their whole entire childhood, but then turn out to be the best they could be just because their personality was, meant for that. So, yeah, I don't know. Thinking about that, like off the top of my head, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it worked for me, but I don't know anything different. So
Sure.
It's really hard to, when somebody's like, oh, it's the best way, I don't know. It's like, well,
it was the way.
Yeah, it's the way I know. Yeah. Yep.
Gotcha.
Oh, I have so many questions. I have so many thoughts. What do you got?
Well, this kind of takes us back and goes a different direction. So
Take us.
You want to do that? One of the things you said, talking about Skyzone and acquiring that, I guess it was the whole business that foreclosed in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
One of the comments you made was like, well, I already knew how to do that.
Yeah.
Talking about the foreclosure, and like I knew that process. And one of the thoughts that sparked in me was like, you've got your 9 to 5 working at the bank, doing all you do there, and then you've got your hustle from 5 to 9, doing Skyzone. And so I had the thought, how many of the things that you have jumped all into have been like closely related to something else that you've already been doing? And do you look for opportunities where there is a low barrier to entry for you based on the experiences and skills you have?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, I jumped into the second one just because it's like, okay, I want more. But how I originally got into Skyzone was not for that reason.
Okay.
So, I mean, my reasons for getting into new things are usually because I'm curious about them, or I think that could benefit me in some way. Yeah, banking has always been the passion, but yeah, entrepreneurship. I flipped houses after college, and so that was just because I was bored. I get bored really easily, almost too easily, and so yeah, sometimes I just jump into something because I'm bored, and then like, oh crap, what do I do? And then you just figure it out, and then you become not bored. So I've never really had. I'm very like nervous sometimes. Even you're like, oh, how can you be a nervous person owning 4 businesses and doing this and like, But I am. I mean, I calculate everything and I analyze it before I go into it. So that portion is always, makes me nervous. But then I also, when I jump into something, it's like the ignorance is bliss. It's like, oh yeah, this would be great. This could be great, and
it's like momentum for you.
Oh yeah. And then 6 months later, like, oh crap. And probably a week ago, same things. You're like, uh-oh. And it's gonna be one of those nights where I can't sleep. And I'm just thinking. So I think that's just my age too. I have too much energy right now. If I get to about 50, that's I'm hoping. I'm listening to some people a lot older than me, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, it's just a phase in your life. You'll hopefully you'll grow out of this." And I'm like, "I don't think so." They're like, "That's what I thought when I was 31." And I was like, "Okay." And so hopefully in about 20 years or 15 years or whatever, I'm like, I'm cool. Yeah.
That's the way I see my dad. I don't know if that's the way you see your dad, or if I just can't rile him up anymore.
Yeah.
Nothing just rises him. Yeah. It's just that's what happens sometimes. Oh. And I hate it when he says things like that, because it's like, why? Yeah. Why is this happening? Yeah. It's like, well, sometimes it does.
Where's your testosterone level at right now? Do we need to go and see a doctor?
No kidding. Yeah. Right. Like, dude, what? Yeah. But you mess with that kid's grandkids, and you're gonna
there's
a
testosterone
issues.
that comes out now. Oh. Yeah. Well, so I got a dog. It's not a grandkid, but I bought my parents my dog's actual brother in the same litter.
Oh wow!
And you want to talk about coddling? They both. Yeah, my dad. Oh yeah, Coach Sawhill. Yeah, let's go up and down, run some sprints until I'm tired and throwing up. Yeah, that's my dad. And then now you see him around. His Zeke is the dog's name. Oh man, he's soft.
He's soft on the dog.
He's soft. Yeah. Yep. I even call him that. I call him out. I'm like, you're getting soft, and he's like, just a shrug of the shoulders. Like, I'm not going to respond to that. Yeah.
Like, so what if I am?
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like,
you turned out fine, right? Yeah. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah. Right. Yep.
Oh, man. Do you think, speaking of soft, this crossed my mind earlier, your childhood and just working hard and not being coddled and becoming hard, and you got into the world, were you like, wow, the world is soft at some point?
Yeah, I still think that.
You still think that?
Yeah, that's something that's unrational or irrational, is to think that people are soft. But I got to check myself. It's like I'm not as tough as I think I am. It just is. It's the same thing. It's like people aren't as soft as what
Sure.
I think they are. So and it's that whole I could do better, and it sometimes comes off conceited, but it's just it's an insecurity of me being good enough. That's why I'm like, oh, okay, I can be better. And people aren't as good, and I want to be better than them, so to speak. Not comparing myself necessarily to their achievements, but comparing myself to myself based off of them, which can kind of, I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever, can kind of seem like I'm judging them. Not judgmental, it's just more, again, my own insecurity.
Was it like that desire to be exceptional, and if I take what normal is, I don't want to be that. So my expectation for myself is up here.
Yeah.
And if I'm not meeting that, it's like it is about what I can do, but what I can do in comparison to what's normal for everyone else.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And sometimes I disagree with people on, I think I'm right. I disagree. And then sometimes it's like, I'm not right. I think that kind of comes out too, of I want to be exceptional. So sometimes my opinion is right. So that's kind of what you're hitting on is I would definitely say my friends who are very close to me will understand that I have an opinion about pretty much anything, and it's not always right, but I am who I am, and he's not, at least there's a difference between having a wrong opinion, quote unquote, and then being a hypocrite, and so I try not to be a hypocrite. Whatever I say, it's it's not necessarily the right opinion, but it's at least I'm not I'm not lying in what I'm trying to portray is me. So to me, see what I mean?
I get you.
Yeah. So.
Do you feel like that's an opinion you have to share with people, or do you pretty much keep it to yourself?
What I just shared?
Well, no, just when you if you have an opinion about most things, is it common for you I should share that, or do you?
Well, a topic comes up, and I'm like, here's my opinion.
Yeah.
And let's. I'm not necessarily debate about it, but like I want to see your opinion. I want to learn. Like, somebody's in a war. I've never been in a war. Okay, so I want your opinion. Is war good or not? How is it good? How's it bad? Because I don't know. I have my own opinion, but I've never carried a battalion with me or whatever. And my knowledge is zero. It's not like 0.01. It's zero. So I'm not the expert. Just like you're not the expert at banking, and I'm not necessarily even the expert at banking. I've been doing it, but I'm not the expert.
You're gonna have to come back.
Okay.
Sometime. I see why Rogan's are like 3 hours, 4 hours. Like he had that one with Jordan Peterson that was literally like 4 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Just two dudes sitting talking, and it's like we've been going for an hour already, but I feel like we've barely scratched the surface.
Oh yeah, it's been really good so far.
Yes, I mean deep. You're obviously philosophical, and you're obviously like a deep thinker and an analyzer. And yeah, I need some of that. I need some analytical conversations in my life, or else that's one of the things that I feel like I need to like not be depressed. You know, if everything I'm doing is just so monotonous and routine and quote unquote shallow, like I'm a hurting guy. Versus I need that deep dive to like kind of light the fire inside me. So
for sure, yeah.
Just being around you guys is good for me.
Yeah, it's like it's like tea time for it's the older generation. You just need to sit down, have tea, talk.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, I'm glad too. I almost killed you one time. This was another story I had of you. It's amazing that we're here on this day. 'Cause fast forward, I was a freshman. Had a story about you being a sophomore. Then I was a sophomore and I was recovering from my broken arm. Mm-hmm. And there was like, we were in the weight room lifting, and then there was like the strong guys and then like everyone else. And I don't know, I was walking around and someone was like, Phil, get in here, do this. And it was a 135 push press, just straight up. And you were sitting like on the rack right here. I was in the rack, was not strong and ready to do this, had never done this before. And I like put it up, but then did the one arm, not so strong thing, and I started leaning, and the barbell was going directly into you, and you were facing the other direction. And someone, I think it was like Alan Fisher, like grabbed me and righted the bar. But if no one had been like paying attention to me, I would have like drove 135 pounds into your skull.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
100%.
I don't.
100%.
Again, another story I don't remember.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean it was, and then.
Yeah.
Everyone pretended it didn't happen,
Yeah.
It was, you never knew. No one was like, hey, you almost died right there.
Ignorance is bliss. Yeah. Right there.
For sure. Yeah. So I feel like all these things happen to me just around you.
Yeah.
It's not like you weren't aware of any of this going on, but
oh, that's a good
things
story.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I almost died. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for not dying.
Yeah.
On that.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
Thank you for not killing him.
Correct. Indeed. You were
the weight on your shoulders.
Yes. You've obviously got a lot going. I can't wait to like hear what you're going to do in the next 3, 4, 5 years, let alone 20 when you're 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't slow down. Yeah. Or maybe I do. Who knows?
Maybe a little of both.
Yeah. Slow down in the parts I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do what you need to do to keep being exceptional, man.
Thanks.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming on.
No, thanks for having me. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, and I like what you guys are doing, and obviously like with the success of your business and all that. It's nice to see. Again, this is with my passion, like what I kind of help start. Mm-hmm. I take a piece in every business I help, and then it's like, okay, now it's yours, mm-hmm. and then okay, great, I'm always here if you need me. But but yeah, you go and take it the way you need to.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
The man with the voice.
Been enjoying it.
The man with the voice.
Right.
Sir Isaac Wangler. We need to get you knighted somehow. We need to do, you need to like go save the queen or whatnot. And,
oh boy.
Yeah.
That'd be a story.
That'd be a story. A story for a podcast another time.
Maybe.
He's John Michael Sawhill.
He's Philip.
He's Isaac. Unfiltered Podcast. Signing off.